So we're having now, thank you very much, Professor. It's too interesting. We're having now 10 minutes for questions, and then we propose a recess, a pause of 10 minutes, and then we come back to hear other professors. Yes? So if you want to make a question, you raise your hands.
Are we going to defeat the United States? I don't know. We're trying. And I think what we are doing now, starting with Chavez, the Bolivarian Revolution, I see it not because I am Venezuelan, but I think it's a very special revolution in the world. In the history of politics, or in the history of the social movement or social processes, the Bolivarian Revolution have something to say different. The union, I said that the union, the civilian military union, the empowerment of the popular power, say, is something different. And it is a fact that the United States have invest a lot of money in trying to destroy our revolution, and then they are not being able to do that. I was saying, like as a joke with Sandy, that the problem in Venezuela is that we may be seen as messy, we like dancing, we like. But the CIA identifies someone, this is the guy. They pay a lot of money, and the guy steals the money, which happened with Guaido. You know that our Ministry of Information once he said he's very ironic when he speaks, and he said, "I want advice to you people from the CIA. The Guaido people are stealing your money, so keep attention with that."
Sorry, who said that?
Huh?
Who said that?
Jorge Rodriguez.
Ah, right.
Keep attention, they are stealing your money. And it's a very messy opposition. And we also have, I don't know, but we have a very interesting organization which are unique, I think, and difficult for them to understand. Because this mentality, the imperialist mentality, is so, square, but they can understand that people can move by themselves, can decide, and what is happening in Venezuela, the way we take decisions is different. And so there is a power there, which is not only the government, which is not the army, it's the people organized. And that makes us strong to resist. On the other hand, we are doing a very strong movement in the multilateral area. So our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you can see probably in many places, we have had nice victories in the Decolonial, in the Right to Human Commission, in the UNESCO, just last week I think, we got the presidency of the Latin American group in the UNESCO. It's a nice thing because the president is Venezuelan and the two vice presidents, one from Cuba and the other from Nicaragua, so it's nice.
And also part of human rights.
And the Human Rights Commission. We were there, and then they try to spell out from that they can. We have had victories, which are can be seen as small victories, but as are big victories, because in the multilateral world, it's not something that we can. We are not going to defeat the Americans tomorrow, because it's not something for Venezuela. It's something in the world. And this is what you said about being, they are the policy of the world, and apparently nobody cares about that. And that's difficult to attack, to counterattack. But something that happened in Venezuela, for example, is that many people have realized how powerful are the Americans, how there is not a case that they can send the Marines to Venezuela and to shoot people. No, they don't need to do that. They control the financial system of the world, and people are realizing that, and start thinking, that's not fair. Why a country has this power? And but it's not something easy to defeat. In fact, you have countries more powerful, economically speaking, like Russia or China, trying to change their currency. And you know, the Chinese and the Russian has been probably 7 years trying to change and to make a business between them in yuans and rubles. And still they're using dollars. The Chinese, I think they're using local, I mean, with Iran, I think they're not using dollars anymore. But you know, it's cases. It's not, we feel that it will be normal for everybody to understand that, to say, come on, let's use our money, but it hasn't been easy. I think we are doing some small steps to counter attack that. The petro, the crypto currency the government created 2 years ago.
2 years.
2 years ago. That's an important weapon, a financial weapon. We're using it slowly, but it's something. And the fact that the American government is attacking the petro in that way means something. Means that we're in the right path. If they don't agree with that, it's good. If they don't like it, it's good. And I think it's slow, it's not easy, and certainly it's amazing how they can do things in the world so freely. The bases, for example, the military bases around the world. You know that the President Correa, they had an American base in Ecuador, and he expelled them from Ecuador. And he said, well, I can agree in having the American base here, but we need to put an Ecuadorian base in Florida. No problem. We put our military base there, and you put, it's, you know, of course, people laugh at, but it's the truth. Why they have the right. I was sent a caricature in which there is a map of Iran and all the bases. Say, Iran is a threat. Look how near they put their country to our base.
Our bases.
That's incredible. But that is, it's not easy. I think we have doing steps, at least for defending ourselves, to let people know about how dangerous are the Americans, but how powerful they are. So we have to be, careful.
You know what they say in Iran? Look, all these bases, what an opportunity for us to attack them.
That's the other side.
Yes, that's right.
Do you have friends in the European Union? Because the European Union is, after the US, the biggest economy in the world, bigger than China.
Yeah, no, for us, very difficult. Our relation with Europe and with those Latin American countries are difficult. We are fine with African countries, we are fine with Asian countries, and we have allies there. And some are allies, some are friends. They don't recognize Guaidó, that's good for us. They recognize our government. But in Europe it's difficult.
Okay.
And in some countries of Latin America it's difficult. You know that, something that I was reminded a few minutes ago, is that the United States is agreeing with the Netherlands in some cooperation because there is a problem with the Netherlands. The problem is that the Venezuelan migrants are invading Curaçao, so they need to be protected. So they are doing agree with the Netherlands to reinforce the military presence of America in Curaçao. You know, from the coast of Venezuela, you can see Curaçao. It's very dangerous for us. And the NATO is protecting their territory against a neighbor. So they know the neighbor because as I said at the beginning, we have border with the Netherlands, which is there very near. So the NATO can be there and protect them against us. For us, it's obviously a threat, as the 7 bases they have in Colombia or the government of Bolsonaro. So that is, it's a difficult, but I think we have to, a friend of mine, I think she's Buddhist or something, and she said, this is a personal theme, and she said, when you want something, you have to see that happening. If you see that, you concentrate that, that will happen. So we are aware, we're convinced that we will win. So you see that, it will happen. You know, the constitution of Venezuela haven't changed. So our constitution was approved by the people in 1999. Then we had one reform of the constitution. That reform was voted by the people. So nobody can change the constitution without the opinion of the public, of the people of Venezuela. And that is in the constitution. The constitution says that you can reform, and there is a procedure to reform the constitution. You have to do a referendum or a consultation. So we have our constitution, the current constitution, which was voted by 80-something% of the people. And then in 2008, we tried to reform. We lost that. Election, the only one we lost, and the National Assembly in 2015. So 2 elections out of 19 elections that we lost. And that was a reform that Chavez tried to do to the constitution. Then the parliament tried to add some other reforms. People didn't like that and voted against. And that's it. And Chavez recognized, okay, we lost. No problem. That is the constitution. I remember in the 2012 election, you know that, I don't understand that, but you know that in the election, during the day of the election, there are people who know how to know what is happening in every election, because they are the exit polls and whatever. They say, more or less you can say, but. And I remember in 2012, by midday, things were, we have like 2 points or 3 points ahead, which for us is very few. We are used to have a big, and we are worried. And someone told me an anecdote that he asked Chavez, Commander, is only 5 points or 3 points ahead. What if we lose? And Chavez, quiet, smiling, have a constitution, said, here it is. Everything you need is here. If we lose, we'll give this thing to them. And then they will have the worst opposition ever. That was Chavez. He was fighting all the time. And he taught us to fight all the time. That's important. So the constitution is there. And the only thing to change is that the people will change. I don't know that guy, sorry, but I will be pleased to have the name to give that. I don't know, there is a group in Venezuela now from the network of intellectuals. They are building a case for against the measures. So they talk about crime of lesser humanity, lesser humanidad, crime against humanity, and they are talking about the problem with the human rights. I was once in one of these meetings, and they didn't mention genocide as a thing. And to be honest, this case of genocide, to mix your question with yours, I haven't heard about that. When Sandro invited me to come here. And say, I said, what is the issue? And said, no, it's a genocide. And I started thinking on that, but it's something that is new. I mean, I don't know if someone else, I will go there and try to put it in the mind of this net to talk about this possibility to learn. And that information would be very nice if you can give me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Get it to
sorry,
me,
I
I
don't
can
know.
do it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Cuba comparison. That's, that's a case. We have thought a lot about why Cuba. They have been blocked for 60 years, and they have very nice indicators for health, education, etc. During the special period, they lost achievement. I mean, during the special period in the 90s, there were an increase in child mortality, an increase in maternal mortality, something like what we are living now. That happened in Cuba as well. Maybe there is a difference, maybe I am speculating here, but the revolution in Cuba started in a war, from a war. When you are in a war, in a real war, you are with me or against me. You can be in the middle. In Cuba, you have to decide where you are in the revolution or you are against the revolution. In Venezuela, it's a democracy, it's elections, and you can be in the middle without troubles. So we live with the enemy inside every day. That makes things slower in some cases. In Cuba, they decide things and they start a revolution, and next year was the agrarian reform, a year urban reform, and you have to decide. And people left Cuba and went to Miami, but the people inside were the revolution. So they are revolutionary, most of the people, and have very aggressive policy in education. So they have a high discipline as well, the Cubans. In our case, it has been different. It's slower, the process, because we are cohabit with the enemy. And but on the other hand, the financial measure has been stronger against us than Cuba. For example, the Cubans, of course, they have invented route, a way to counteract the blockage. But for example, they pay the embassies. They give the money to the embassy. They can send money from Cuba to their embassy in Thailand. Normally, we cannot do that. The measures against us are more strict. It's been very difficult for us to send money to our missions. We are doing that, but it's very difficult. More than the Cubans. And we have talked with the Cubans. How do you do? No, for us, no. And of course, they don't have. It's not that I say that it is easier for them. They have struggled. Strong. But the financial movement against us has been more aggressive. We are not living a special period like the Cuban, on the other hand. We still have food, we still have the ways to supply people. With for example, the program of CLAP. Have you heard about CLAP? It's a program, a special program of the government in which the government supply a box of some food, rice, flavor, some basically sugar, oil in a box that is given to the people monthly, with a price that is symbolic, basically. And it's a big effort to do that, but it's been done. So in my case, for example, in my community, we receive the box every month. And it's even it's nice to receive that, because the day that we receive the box, it's like, everybody meets and it's nice. And everybody work on that, and it's something nice. And we can do that. The Cubans couldn't do that. I talked with some Cubans about that and comparing, and they say, no, for us, the special period was stronger than for you. We didn't have the food. You can distribute food. The Cuban government couldn't do that. So for people who was, and the level of malnutrition in Cuba arose during the special period. In our case, there are some levels of malnutrition, but not that way. Could be worse if the measure continue. But on the other hand, we are preparing for that. Especially, and I repeated that again, because the grassroots movement, because the producer, the self-organization of the people, that's a key. That's a key term. Because the different prices, this box, I am receiving a box. I pay 10,000 bolivars for the box. Probably.
How much is that in dollars?
10,000, 1/7 of dollar.
1/7 of a dollar.
Well, what I wanted to say is the comparison of the price. I mean, I paid 10,000 for the box. In that box, there are many things. Among other things, 2 or 3 kilos of rice. 1 kilo of rice, 1 kilo in the market is 50,000. And I paid 10,000 for the whole box. And so for people, it's a big help, no doubt. And something that is happening that is good as well is that in my case, because I am considered middle class, the box we received have some important products. And because I am living in Caracas, and whoever lives in a city is basically a parasite who live on the others who produce the food in the field. So in the towns of the interior of Venezuela, most of the products are local. In Caracas, no, are imported, but you can see the change in the product inside the box. And every time there are more local products, which is good. And that happened because we cannot import. And that made me return to an idea. I try to say that when in that kind of process, something we have to do, or we must do, is to educate on the coloniality. The food thing is a colonial thing. What you eat show what you are, what you think, what you feel. If you eat imported thing, and you think that is very good, okay, I have Gouda cheese, it's very nice. I like Gouda cheese a lot, but we don't produce that. It's very expensive for us. Now, because of the situation, Gouda cheese is very expensive. I cannot buy Gouda cheese. But I have Venezuelan cheese, a lot of Venezuelan cheese, very nice Venezuelan cheese. Well, that's it. I cannot complain because I don't have Gouda cheese. And that's something you have to change in the mind of people, to think that that's better. Because being a rich oil country, we got used to have normally elemental Parmesano cheese, salmon. It was normal. I used to buy that with my salary of professor. Salmon, because I like it. I don't say this, I like that. But there's a lot of other things that you produce that are very nice. And the box of food is an instrument of education very important that we haven't started to use as a education instrument. It's a community organized around the box, but the box became a coordinating instrument. So the whole community, I met people in my community, I didn't know they were there. In fact, where I live, it's not a Chavista place. We understand, no, this is not this is a opposition place. But we, the Chavistas, meet each other thanks to the box. We are, and how many of us are there? There are more than we expected, no? That's fine. And the other thing that is interesting is the role of women there. Because every time I went to distribute the boxes, we the men were carrying boxes, We're doing the hard work. But the organizer, who said, how many boxes there are? Was the women. But they make the orders, and we just pay. And there's a whole organization, and that is repeated in many, many communities. The women in Venezuela is a very strong force, very strong force. And when I was Vice Minister for Science and Technology, we had a program to, we tried to change, and we did it somehow, the idea of science as a territory of academic people. Science is knowledge, is creating and is using the knowledge to solve things. So everyone who uses the knowledge to change things is doing science. So we started funding communal organization. The people from the university said, oh, come on, you are losing that money, these people will steal the money. I said to them, I want you to have all the projects your university has submitted to the ministry. I want you to see the objectives in the project, and I want you to check if the objective was achieved or not. Because when you send a project, you say you will find the cure to cancer. I want you to show me how many people have been because of that investigation, of that research. So it's a form of steal as well. So start giving money to the community, to projects of basically using innovation, using local knowledge to do something in health, in infrastructure, water, whatever. And the best projects were run by women. The more responsible. They use the money. And maybe because they use the money at home, they have to distribute the money at home. Because many homes in Venezuela are run by women, because the men just run off. And they know how to use the money well. And when you receive money for the communal bank are run by women. And personally, I trust more when there was a women there and say, okay, I give the money, it's fine. And the club program, the box food program, is run basically by women. From the party, the Socialist Party, but also just social activists. And that's fine, that's nice. So that's a power as well we have there, because we know each other. And when something happens, we activate quickly. We know who to call. If we need protection, we know that. That's very nice. How are we going to present the case of genocide? Well, I will talk to these people and say, how do you think that genocide is a possibility? Only human rights violation. And because as I told you, it's something I started thinking with the invitation of I talked to some people there. I said I was coming here and I was talking about this issue. I said, genocide, do you think it's too strong? I said, well, let's see. Let's study.
Yeah.
Let's look some lawyer and just to see what the United Nations says.
I'm not a lawyer, and I read it there.
Yeah, That's it.
So,
War crimes, genocide.
Yes, nobody knows.
and it's a conspiracy to do it as well. That's
That's
very evident. So,
incitement to,
Yeah.
to do harm to a national group. That's
in
exactly
the
what
in
they're
the
doing.
eyes of everybody. So,
So we'll see. I will now have after this. I feel strong to go there and say, you know, genocide. Think about that. Maybe.
yeah, to shock people. It's a shocking.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the words only.
Literally.
For me, it's important that a strong word like genocide don't be used freely.
Mhm.
It's like fascism.
Yeah.
People sometimes accuse the opposition of fascist. Some of them are fascist,
Mhm.
not all of them. Being fascist is something very special. Not everybody from the right is fascist or fascist. So you have to think about carefully to use the word as the word socialism or eco-socialism. Chavez started talking about eco-socialism when he wrote the national plan in 2008. I have to tell you that because it's very nice. We have a national plan. It's called the Motherland Plan. And it has, as every plan, has general objectives and goes to the particular objectives. The big objectives, we call it historical objectives. That was written by hand, by Chavez. 5 historical objectives, who says what we want with our country, what we want with our society, what we want with the world. And it's a historical line who comes from the first objective, says the first historical objective is to consolidate our independence. We got political independence in 1811, then the war, and then the Spanish were expelled in 1821 from Venezuela, 1825 from South America by the Bolivarian army. And we're independent since then. We're not Spanish, we're Venezuelan, Colombian. I wasn't independent. It was a political independence, it was administrative independence, not our independence. So the first objective of Chavez, we have to consolidate our independence. Our more precious good, says Bolivar, is the independence. That's the first objective. But we have to, why we want independence? The second objective, or how to consolidate independence, the second historical objective is to build socialism. To build a socialist society. Solidarity, equality, that's it, a socialist society. The third objective, historical objective, is to become a power country, a strong country, but not in the sense of the imperialist. It's not a country that no, a country that is culturally strong, socially strong, economically strong as well, politically strong, that with a strong institution, with a strong feeling of being Venezuelan, feel proud of what you are, and that's the third objective. The fourth objective, go outside of Venezuela, is to make whatever possible to build a multipolar world. And that's when Chavez started looking for in Iran, in China, in Russia, in Africa. Before Chavez, we have almost no relationship with Africa at all. Africa was a country. It's Africa. Something there, everybody black, and it's poor. And they have HIV and wars. That's Africa. That's what before Chavez. Chavez started seeing Africa, our motherland. That's a real motherland. And we started, and we have mission in many countries of Africa. We started because he said we have to build a multipolar world, not only one hegemon, several. And the relation with China, the relation with Russia, the relation with Turkey, etc. That is the fourth. And the fifth objective goes to the future. The fifth objective is to save the world and to save the humanity. And in that objective is when he introduced the word eco-socialism. We have to build a socialism that put humanity and nature together and do not separate nature from humanity. You know that one of the but one of the characteristics of the modernity is the idea that nature is there and we are here. We can damage nature because we are outside nature. We can damage nature without damaging ourselves. That's modernity. It's different what our indigenous people think, or people from Africa, or people from other cultures. So Chavez introduced that element of eco-socialism and to say we have to see nature and human as the one thing, so we have to protect Earth to protect ourselves. We have to build this multipolar, socialist and independent world in harmony with the nature. So that's the future, and because that's the safety humanity and the Earth. So eco-socialism was an important word. Unfortunately, it lost content because when it started to be used, everybody was eco-socialist without understanding what that means. And so that's the reason why I think the genocide word had to be used with careful, to use it in the proper context. And we have to study whether we have or not a case for that, but well studied. I think from the superficiality of this talk that we have a case. But we have to talk with the lawyers. And I think we have. Certainly we have violation against human rights, certainly, and probably a crime against humanity. So let's see. That's very interesting because you know that many people criticize the fifth objective of eco-socialism and save the earth, because the third objective, who claim to become a power country, among other things, talk about the oil production, to reinforce the industry, and say, come on, oil industry is something that damages the nature. And I agree with that. Because I am not government now, I can talk freely. And I can make some criticism from the revolution, inside the revolution, never outside the revolution. I am clear of that. And the extraction of minerals and resources in the world is something that happened since 500 years ago. This thing called the International Division of Labor in the world make us a producer of goods for the global north. So we are the producer of oil that allow Europe and United States to keep the level of life they have. As a friend of mine told me once, she was in Spain, saying, how are you doing that? And she said, this is strong, but she said, well, I am here with these people who is living the life they took from us, she said. Because we're providing goods for Europe since 500 years ago. So we are not going to change that in 20 years. But we have to change it if we believe in another world. So my idea, and the way I see the coherent both things, the eco-socialism and the petroleum exploitation, that at the moment we need funds to make the revolution. And those funds come from oil. What we have to do is to use that money to build a new society, to build the base to change the society. And we can export oil and use the money to reinforce the popular power, to reinforce the agriculture, and to build the condition to be able to say, okay, no more oil. Now we need that. It's impossible to do revolution without them. It's impossible. The same with gold, the gold extraction, which I don't like it at all. I am an ecologist. My background is in ecology and conservation biology. It's not easy for me to say, okay, let me have gold there. And I was Minister of Environment a year before the Orinoco Arc was approved. It was difficult and we tried to make the constructive criticism to the project. And for example, this Orinoco Arc, which is 110,000 kilometers square, doesn't mean that all the area is being exploited. It's 5% of this area which now exploited for diamonds or gold, iron, bauxite. And what's the idea? The idea that we can, of course, we can do it better, and this is done now. We have problems there. In the mining areas, there are violence, there are problems, as in the mines of everywhere in the world. We are not. I mean, we are doing a revolution. Doesn't mean that everything is perfect. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a revolution. The revolution means invent new things, and but what I think, I'm convinced, is that we need now to do that. We need now to keep a strong oil industry, but to get the money to build a new society. Have we done that or not? Well, yes and not. We have used the money of oil to reinforce our popular power. We have used the money of oil to reinforce the education system. Houses, which is important. Housing, for example, these 3 million house meant, among other things, to people who lived in very risky areas, people who were very in risk of suffering climatic change because the rains produce, and they were put in safe places. So it's even a mitigation, climate change mitigation action, the housing program. This housing program has had problems. We have committed mistakes, but no country in the world has done that. Of course there will be mistakes. Nobody has done it. So we can now learn from the mistakes and learn and teach others how to do it better. And every time is done in a better way. On the first, at the beginning, we had a problem. We have a storm rains in 2010, and many people were in refugees. So Chavez, at that moment, says, "Why so many people in refugees? Because they lost their house. Why they lost their house? Because they weren't house. Where how do you call it, rancho?
Shackles.
Favelas.
Shackles. Yes. And very risky places. And Chavez said, okay, we have to solve that. Chavez has something very, very nice in Chavez, is that he was in the program, television, and people talked to him. And someone said, President, I am with a house, I need a house, asking a house for the president. He could say, give a house to that woman. And very demagogic, very nice in television, give a house. No, he started a class about why someone has no house, the problem of housing. And he started talking about housing, people, problem in the world, the problem of housing in Venezuela, and he invented a new mission, it was a housing mission. Probably he gave the house to the woman, probably, but he didn't stop there. He created a policy. So in his program, talking about the media, in the program of Chavez, every Sunday, Allo Presidente, he was doing public policy with the people. People were orienting the public policy. That's something unique in the world, something that Chavez invented, how to govern from the people. And there was an elder, I need a wheelchair, I don't have, and he started talking about the disabled, and the problem of disabled, or whatever, and created a mission, or created a program, a whole program. Then he gave the wheelchair to that person in particular, but make a policy from that. That was very important. And the opposition watched the president. Because it was important because he said that things that were important for the next week. And Chavez was so,
Able.
Yes, he was very wise. And somehow he being every week the speech of the opposition. Because the opposition had a problem with the university, for example. There is a problem in the university. Think about it. There is a problem in the university, and probably the opposition will talk about that. And Chavez said, in the areas of gold mining, something is happening. And I think that we have to do something with the mine. And the opposition was all the week talking about the mine, just to be against Chavez and forget the thing in the university. And so we could think carefully on the university how to solve the problem. That's it. But he was doing policy, public policy from the people. That was very important, very important. And there was, every other president, there was a class. There was a class. And he always had a book there. He showed, I am reading that book. And people said, and people were buying the book. He was at the United Nations once, several times, but once he was in the United Nations, and he showed a book by Chomsky. I said, I'm reading that book in the United Nations, Next day, Amazon.com, it was
Sold out.
Sold out. There was a hegemony, and I don't remember who it was. A book of Chomsky. He once gave the open vines of Latin America, Galeano. He gave it to Obama. This is a gift for you to know, try to. Yes. People reading the book, He all the time was teaching. And that was very
Obama was
important.
very rude.
Obama was very rude.
Very
Oh, yeah?
rude, yes.
Why? What did he say?
Obama acted
Yes,
what kind of nonsense is this?
Not even thanks.
Not even things, yes.
No, it's-
Obama said, okay, you give me a book about oppression of Latin America. He was very rude.
Yes. But the one who was very bad in camera was Obama, Chavez. Chavez was, a diplomat. And he was always teaching. And Enrique Dussel said that a leader should be a teacher as well. And he put Chavez as an example of a leader teacher. So a leader who teach all the time and not just speak things. And Chavez was a teacher. My mother said, I know about oil industry because of Chavez. I know how the trade of oil, and I didn't know anything about that. But Chavez taught me that. How is the movement of oil? My mother has 90. She's very, Chavista. And that was Chavez. And this program was very important. And for journalists, it's a case of study. And there have been several PhD theses about Aló Presidente. Then Evo Morales started a program on Saturday, Correa started a program, and every governor in Venezuela have a program in the radio or in television, in the local television, because they think we have to do that. We have to talk to the people, how to say to the people what we are doing. And Chavez did that. That was very important. And but still, our media is not that good. I have to say that. We have to do something about that. We have, in Venezuela, is a lie that all the media is controlled by the state. That's not true. In fact, most of the media are controlled by the opposition. In the television, the main television channel, the most watched channels are from the opposition, not from the state. We have several channels, we have several radio stations, but in the case of the official channel, television, Venezolana de Televisión, has a problem, in my point of view. I don't know, probably you agree. It's like a channel of propaganda, just propaganda. So, and some people make jokes about that. Say, oh, I woke up today feeling bad, so I put Vrede to cheer up, because it's all just good news. You know? Good news. See, there's not something not that good, you know.
It's too much bad news.
It's too, yes.
You need to more
I
positive
need
news.
one bad news, please.
Please.
And that's not good. And something we have to work. We know we had Telesur, which is another thing. Telesur is different. It's more, it's better, certainly. From my point of view, has been too much Venezuelanized, too much Venezuela. Telesur has headquarters in Venezuela, but supposedly it's from the south. And they have done an effort to expand even in English. They have Telesur in English, in the Caribbean, in Africa. But I think we have to make less things from Venezuela, because that's Telesur must be.
And also, I don't want Telesur.
Now also,
Yes,
Guaido
now he's
wants-
talking about the new.
Guaido says last week that he took control of, will take control of Telesur, which is, I think that he says, in Venezuela, nobody cares. But there is a problem, because we have equipment in Ecuador. Telesur have a station in Ecuador, and that can be a problem, because if they stole Circo, they can stole that, because the government of Ecuador is now. But I think something that is very important that we should do is to think about the media and how a new strategy, know the strategy we have now of propaganda. We need something more powerful. And it's not to say, oh, thanks, President, because you give me a house. No, that's not. And people doesn't watch that. We all agree on that. I mean, we are convincing the convinced. You don't have to come and tell me that the government is good. I know what is good, but it's not. It's not. We have to work for that. And to show all the story I told you about the power, the popular power and the organization, that's the thing that have to be shown in television. People know who are organized, how they organize, and the personal experiences of people. Not only thanks for no. For example, if you gave 2 million computers, 2 million computers given to the children, free for the school. So this is a child who got a laptop with internet access and went into his home, a home when probably there is not a single book, but never thought in having a computer, and suddenly there is a computer there with internet access. That's amazing what can happen in this house. What were the changes? What happened there? We have to know that. We have to show that in the media. We have to study that as well. The impact of the computer in that house. And I think our media is not doing that job. Should do it. We also received CNN, Fox News. So it's a liar that we don't have the information. We have, unfortunately, Fox News. People see that thing there on CNN. But recently there was on Twitter, there was a consultation about which channel in Spanish you like the most. and Telesur won. But of course, probably the Twitter is, in the between hours.
In the population.
Yes, but Telesur won the most, and Fox News was the less. Fox News is horrible. But we can see all this in Venezuela. There is no censorship in Venezuela. That's a lie.
Here we do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, we're going to give the word now to the Chart of Affairs of the Venezuelan Embassy. And then he's going to have. And then the Hands of Venezuela and Vrede with Venezuela you also have. But first, you what was very interesting.
For me, it's really nice you are here, Professor, because you have a lot of trajectory in universities of Simon Bolivar. Simon Bolivar is one of the best universities in Venezuela. Really good engineers and professionals. When somebody told me about your visit here, it's wonderful to stay here. Also, I'm welcome to the embassy.
Thank you.
I would like to put on a few words. No? In the end of the day, the problem is we are a new possibility. Yeah? When you analyze more than 20 missions in Venezuela with investment in the people, this is again the capitalist system. It's not a business for the private company, the houses with good price. It's not a business, the Canaima, it's not a business for the private clinics, the private health system, the free health in one country. When you analyze this distribution in the people, to the people, yes, it's against the private companies. I think this is it wants. Unfortunately, just now we have a really big problems, yes. But it's the result about it's the consequence about the strategies about against our country, against our system. All people know that U.S. is the property of the international finance system. Yeah, it's true, totally true. I agree with you. When we can't receive the international money, the transfer for pay the salary of the employees. It's difficult. It's difficult. Yeah, and we try to find the solution for that situation because it's our responsibility to pay the salaries of the employee, and we have the compromise for about the electricity, water. This is only one example. I was talking with some friends a few weeks ago about DHL. The UN talk about. EU talk about the sanctions against the authorities in Venezuela. It's not true. It's not true. When I was in DHL for the diplomatic parcel to Venezuela, what is a diplomatic parcel? It's the diplomatic documents from one embassy to a Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is international law. This is Convention of Vienna. This is not the personal documents. This is the document for the people with their certification, with the powers, with the different documents for the Venezuelan citizen living here in Holland. What was the answer from DSL? Sorry, but we can't deliver the diplomatic parcel to your country. This is one example. It's real. It's not imagined, no, this is day per day. We are trying to find the solution because always we have new problems for resolve our situation. Our compromise was to find the other way, but the diplomatic parcel is in Caracas. Yeah, this is our compromise with the people here in Holland, with the people, with the Venezuelan citizens living here in Holland. When you analyze the coercive measures against Venezuela, coercive, totally coercive, is against the international law. It's not again when you analyze the history of USA in the war. Today is Venezuela. 2 weeks ago was Bolivia. Yeah, in the future Iran. But it's against the international law. It's against the Convention of Vienna. It's against the UN. Yeah. In 19 December, UN is 192 countries. In 19 December, around 120 recognized the President Maduro as president. Yeah? Around 120, around 57 countries again. But when you analyze the multilateral system in the world, you suppose the international power. Yeah? But this international law is not perfect. Yes, it's not. It's against also the Convention of Vienna. When you are in one country, part of a member state of Convention of Vienna, and you can't deliver it, the diplomatic person, what is the international law? And the answer was no, but that was the private company. Yeah, this is the examples. Example day per day. It's no imagine. It's no. Of course, you are Venezuela now, and you have more details on fresh. 2 days ago, our minister Arriaza was in China, trying to find solution for our economic situation, for the new business, new relation, and he talked about more than 6 billion. Just now, it's more than 6 billion blocked in the international system. Yeah. We are trying to find solution, but always when we find one, okay, it's detected for the system and it's blocked. This is the real situation, day per day. Of course, we are working hard for the country. We are working for our people. The best in our country is the people. This solidarity, the people recognize what is the consequence for the international block, the international coercive measures. Yeah, it's not the government want or no. The government is trying to find the solution, but it's clear when we find any solution, the solution is blocked. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I'm not going to present any analysis anymore. Just to mention that we have discussions when we were when I was in Venezuela, and we still have this discussion now with Seattle, which is the institute that is headed by Guillermo, on the decline of the U.S. empire. What does it mean? How is it taking shape? And the example we use is that of the British and the Spanish Empire. That if you were living in India in 1800 or in Mexico in 1700, 1650, you couldn't imagine that Spain would be a country like it is now. At that time, you would associate Spain with imperial power. You think there's nothing more powerful than Spain. If you were in India in 1800, you think there's nothing more powerful than the British Empire. Now, if we tell you, there will be a time that you will not associate the United States with imperial power, but like Portugal. You can't imagine that. It's beyond your imagination, because we're living it through now, right? And the analysis I present is that the killing of Soleimani opened this new era, where we'll see a speeding up of the decline of the American power. Because the first time since World War, European War II, it's the first time an American military base has been attacked by a foreign power and the Americans did nothing, which is important. So the fact that the empire can't use military power as it did in Vietnam or any other tells you something. This is the discussion we are engaged with Seattle and with other people in our network. But at some point in time, we will have this discussion again. But what I would like to do, apart from thanking Beatrix for leading this, I would prefer to give the floor to Hands of Venezuela and tell us about the important work you have been doing here, which inspired me very much about what has been going on.
Shall you come here?
Yes, I can do it maybe. Yeah. I'll sit here.
Yeah.
Come and sit here, or you sit there.
We have a very special situation in Holland. We have a government which is totally on the hand of America. We have media which doesn't tell what's going on in your country, what's going on in Iran or in Palestine. They do because you can't refuse anymore what's going on there. So in this situation, we did our best to make a statement with a picket line. But we were not so big, and we didn't get any media attention for the picket line. So we changed more and more, one picket line a month. Now we do manifestations on the Dam Squares, the center of Amsterdam, every week. And we do it together with the Bolivian people. It's colorful, it's music from the one side of the dam to the other side. You can't refuse us anymore there, as the media refuses us. People can't there. And we dance and we educate people. We talk to them and we have text. So I think it's a good thing. Because of Bolivia, the group is bigger now than it was. We have to see if the people from the first weeks will get back once, because we miss them now. You know, they're coming more. And we have a lot of projects which we planned. Didn't do them all, but we did a lot of things. We wrote letters. We did the manifestations. We went into the southeast Amsterdam on the marketplace and met people there from Curaçao, Bonaire, to talk about things. We went to Den Haag 2 times, one time inside the parliament, one time outside the parliament. We sold edges for the Voedsel Sovereignty program to try to support them. Well, it's a lot of things we did, but with few people, so it's not that successful if you can imagine it would be. Well, the biggest thing we do is on internet. We made a Facebook website, which is everyday new pages. We have a website, Hands of Venezuela, which is 1 page every day, mostly translated from international investigation journalism, good journalism. We translated it in the Dutch language. It's handsofvenezuela.nl. And I think, well, we have to do what the media doesn't do, educate people about Venezuela, about Bolivia, about Nicaragua. And I think the whole South America thing, it's one thing. So if it's needed for us to talk about Colombia, we will do. I think that's what we changed from the picket line to the education, information people.
Maybe I could say, in reaction to what you're doing.
I want to say something.
Oh, no.
This is very good. I think solidarity is a very big thing. So don't say you are doing few things.
Yeah, that's true.
Solidarity is the biggest of the thing. So thank you very much on behalf of Venezuela. Thank you for all
Yes, to add that to that, let's suppose you stop. What would happen? We would feel it.
Yeah.
You know, we would feel it because when I saw this initiative, and I was in contact already with Venezuela, I said, this is a great thing these people are doing. You know, they're a wonderful thing, because now we don't see it, but at one point in time, in Holland there was a group there already doing what is morally the right thing to do, even if you were alone doing it. It was morally the right thing to do. And if it was not there, we would miss that morally correct thing to do. So thank you very much.
It's the reason why we call it now a web archive. because if people don't look now, they will look in half a year, and they see what they missed by then, what was available already. It's all written in the front page. It was always available, and now you will be interested and see it, what was available.
That's good.
Shall we give for Madeleine? You're not. Well, Professor, thank you very much.
Sorry for talking too much.
I think we have learned a lot, a lot.
Yeah.
And thank you also to Professor Hira, even if you haven't.
I'm not a professor, but
You're not a professor. Okay. Well,
but I teach a lot.
Make you a professor.
Well, in Italian you will be professore immediately, and yeah, I think we could stay more time here, but it's already almost 5:30. So I think you have to come back, isn't it? And also you have to come back. So thank you very much.